I'm Alisa Korobka, and this is SEO in 2023. Hi.
Hi, Alicia. What's your number one SEO tip for 2023?
I have a tip which might be seemingly basic. However, I think that if you get to utilize it, you will appreciate it later. And I do really hope, before I was asked to prepare the tip, there was a question, how do you measure if it's successful or not? I do hope you won't be able to measure if it was successful or not. However, it will make you prepared. So my tip is to prepare for the worst, but hope for the better. And to do that properly, you'll need to make a backup, to write a workflow, and to prepare reporting so that you can do that under any circumstances that may come.
Prepare for the worst. From an SEO perspective, what might be the worst?
Lately, for example, we've seen lots of things happening, pandemics, we've seen natural disasters, some SEOs had their personal circumstances, we had lots of things happening. Now we are swift forward into recession, and we might expect that the next year might be very bad for businesses in many terms, and for some SEOs as well. We see people getting laid off. Lots of them, and that may continue, and the trend may become even worse. So some people under these circumstances, you always think that, at least I have my own brain and I can do what I know. But we've seen from the past that you might get choked with food, or you can bite your tongue, and your lifelong experience in chewing and taking food didn't protect you from this failure anyways. So the best way to get prepared for anything that might happen to you, preferably not, of course, but is to make a backup. And that is physical backup and possibly cloud storage. And don't keep that backup with your natural files, which you are working each day with. The next one in this, all that, is the written workflow of your typical tasks, of what you do daily.
Can I just dive into backups just for a quick second, just before we get back into workflow? So what specifically should you back up, and why do you recommend taking a physical backup as well as cloud backup?
Because what I've experienced myself this year is that cloud backups, some companies may stop working with you, some companies may get burned, their servers may get burned and you don't have any access to that, or the servers might be in the country which experiences some difficulties, no matter what kind of difficulties. So, and you just lose access to them. What I've also found out that people are storing their backups along with their files on the same server. So whatever happens to their files happens to their backup, and they cannot use it. Right. That is another thing that you should not do. Physical backup, you just, when anything happens to you, you just grab the disk or whatever it is, and you just go with that.
And just to clarify, what do you mean by backup? I mean, what data specifically should you include in the backup?
Those are all your documents, absolutely, each one of them.
The website are you talking about? Are you talking about your visit data?
I'm talking about websites, I'm talking about those SQL tables, I'm talking about all your documents, passwords, and all the data entries, because most of us, they have lots of accounts out there, which they do remember. They are somewhere in their Chrome tab where they paste in the password, and they don't even sometimes remember the names of the tools they are using because they are all programmed into their Chrome or elsewhere. So you should have these stored exactly independently, because you will forget about them, I may assure you. You also should have this backup data about all of your domains, all about your links, which you need to, after some times you will need to pay for them. And sometimes you don't get these notifications that it's going to expire or something like that, and you just lose access to your website, you lose domains, you lose backlinks, you lose lots of data. So that should be also the part of your backup. That if you...
And is it an SEO's responsibility to think about all this as well, do you think?
I think so, because you are like someone who drives traffic, and you are someone who drives money to businesses. Like at the end of the day, it's all about money you can provide to the businesses for them to grow and to maintain themselves.
Yeah, I mean, at least be asking the questions, because obviously the website's success, whether the website's there or not, whether the domain's working or not, obviously will radically impact whether or not the SEO has been successful as well. So it makes complete sense. And I also rudely interrupted you talking about documented workflow. So what were you going to share about that?
Some people think that they are good to go only with the backups of their documents and their websites, and that's it, because they can use their brain, and they have this successful experience of bringing websites up, and they think they do remember everything. However, when anything bad happens to you or anything unforeseen, what no one talks about, but what happens to most people is that their brain is so concentrated on survival that no matter what you do, your cognitive functions, they suffer most of the times, more with women than with men, but both parties can sometimes suffer from that. And you thought that you've always known how to do this routine task and that you are very successful with that. However, when the harder times come and you are under stress, you just cannot operate properly. So you should also have these workflows written down for you. I know that it may sound very basic. You think, I'm doing that each day. I know everything. I may bring my websites up at any time. No, you forget everything and you just cannot concentrate on that. So when you have this workflow written down, list by list, properly, you just open it in your backup and you just follow it.
And it's a great practice for outsourcing as well. So if your business is growing, if the amount of activities that you have to do as an SEO is growing, then obviously you're going to build a team. And then if you have those documented workflows already, then it's going to be much easier to actually get people working from you and replicate what you're doing.
Yeah, SOPs, they help as well, but sometimes just something very ordinary task which you do daily, they will help you, because you just forget how to do them under some circumstances. I know that may sound primitive or basic, but that's like the reality, what happens, what many people find out in the wrong way. So if you have that written down and you just open it from your backup, you're able to proceed with your work, whatever happens. So there may be hurricane around you, you have your tasks written down and you just one by one you do them. No matter. And also I do suggest, because when something not very good happens, we are in the recession, we are in the, I don't know, some attack, or you need to hide somewhere or whatever, pick some one thing which you are especially very good at. So something you are doing perfect, much better than others, and that you can do anytime, and write it down and make it your something distinctive about you, something that you can offer to other people in circumstances when you lose everything and you need something fast to work on, with something very fast.
Okay, so you've got to document everything. It's not necessarily just about the fact that you might be growing as an organization, you might outsource. It's the fact that you are a key person risk to that organization. So if you're under stress or if you're not able to fulfill your normal tasks, then it's a lot easier for you or for someone else to do what needs to be done. So that's documented workflow. You also talked about automated tasks as well. So what are some examples of automated tasks that you should be backing up?
So some automated tasks, they require you just do some very basic things, such as tracking your performance over time, tracking how your website performs in terms of errors, technical errors, in terms of rankings, having those alerts all the time if anything happens to a website. For example, if you lose a big portion of your organic traffic for some cluster, it's also something that you can also automate is adding content and optimizing content and looking for entities and schema markup. Mostly those are technical tasks that you can do like that. And of course, monitoring alerts for your backlinks, for everywhere you are mentioned, and things like that.
So what are some key specific automated alerts that every SEO needs to have set up?
I've mentioned that some of them already, but one of the most important is that your domain is up and running, and if you have to pay for it, just you've got this alert. Anyways, not to miss.
And you also touched on organic success as well. So how would you go about receiving setting up an alert and receiving an alert if you had a dip in organic reach?
Yeah, just make your developer do that for you if you cannot do that yourself, but you can automate it with Python, or you can automate it with console APIs and all these kind of things.
But ideally, what are you targeting? Are you targeting kind of overall reach? Are you targeting maybe just the key pages, like the home page for a specific keyword phrase, or certain pages on your site? What specifically are you tracking on your site?
Like some people have very small websites, that is local business websites or something like that, where you have like very few landing pages which you want specifically to track because they bring you customers. And for bigger websites, you automate that in clusters. So you have like, for example, you've got a big e-commerce store where you are selling, I don't know what, for example, I don't know, bags or some wear or something like that. And if you are seeing a significant drop to one of those clusters, you know that you need to go and see what's happening there and why it's happening.
Okay. I know all of this leads to a bit of an evaluation process and perhaps reporting internally or directly to clients. So how do you bring everything together and perhaps turn it into a report that you can action?
Yeah, so I've been looking into that myself for a long time, and I cannot say that here is the solution that I can recommend to everyone. Most people, however, they turn to one of the two options, most of them. One use Google Studio, Data Studio, and they get all the APIs into that one. And others use Power BI, like most of the people who I talk to, where because when you have, for example, Power BI is very useful when you have lots of projects. For example, you're running lots of websites and they are more or less in the same niche, and you want to see the performance for each of them at the same time, because, for example, you are selling more or less similar things on all of them, so you want to understand how they are performing all together, not separately. And Power BI would be very useful when you want to see all your projects and track their performance in one place.
Wonderful. Okay, so Data Studio and Power BI there. So specifically, what reports are key to be building initially inside Google Data Studio?
Oh, like all that concerns organic traffic for you. So you want to see how many people come from Google, how many people come from other search engines, where they come from, what is their flow across the website when they convert, and of course all those associated conversions, what brought them to buying, or if they are like some of them are lifelong customers, LTV and all these kind of things. So where do they go if they subscribe or not to your newsletters, all these kind of things, to then analyze that. But that's not for SEOs already, so you just pass that to marketing department or whoever else is doing that.
Okay. And in large organizations, you've possibly seen in large organizations, they often have big screens around the marketing department, around the organization, just looking at key data, perhaps coming from something like Google Data Studio, but just focusing in on key metrics, what's they're doing well that day, what they're not doing so well. What key data would you recommend including on a monitor like that, on a TV like that? Are you looking at average conversion rate? Are you looking at maybe decreases or increases in traffic? What are the absolutely key metrics that you would recommend sharing with a general marketing department?
If you have service company, one of the key metrics might be sign-ups for your service, calls for your service, and then how that converts into, how these leads convert into customers. So the leads coming into your system and how they convert afterwards, where they are coming to, which clusters are the most popular. So do they come all to one specific page and you are dependent only on that one page, or if you are able to bring them to various pages. These are very important. In terms of e-commerce, of course, you will have lots of different pages, but still you will want to see what customers are buying the most, and if they buy anything else with that, to add that as a proposal to other customers and to sell even more. So that will very depend on the business, but most of them are like sign-ups or things that people buy or add to cart, and how they convert after that. So the actual money. And also, of course, for me as an SEO, I do see the correlations for this page, if where it ranks in terms like in Google and everywhere else, and how much traffic is brought from that system to that specific page.
Actual money SEO is not just traffic. You've shared what SEO should be doing in 2023, so now let's talk about what SEO shouldn't be doing. So what's something that's seductive in terms of time, but ultimately counterproductive, something that SEOs shouldn't be doing in 2023?
So I think that we've been talking about, when we were talking about SEO 2022, we were talking a lot about AI. And now it's really happening, and lots of people are over-engaged into this, and they try to put there lots of efforts and resources. And while it's very interesting to test and to play around with, I don't think that taking too much resources and too much of your time into AI tools, which are actually based on one or two of the same resources around the globe, will bring you any good. Because eventually, like what I've tested and what other people tested, you end up spending much more money on that compared to if you do that like with human, at the moment at least. So I think maybe in 2025 or maybe even in 2024, it will become less resourceful maybe, and it will be more beneficial. But in 2023, I think they'll be still testing a lot around with that. And the fact-checking thing for this type of content is very difficult, to say the least, and you'll end up spending more if you invest into that in 2023 compared to investing into real humans and what they
Well, let's hope that
good.
we can revisit the value of AI-driven content in 2024 and 2025 and beyond.
I'd not invest too much into AI at the moment in terms of content.
Alicia Korobka is the founder and SEO lead at Fagella, and you can find her over at fagella.com. Alicia, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2023.
Thank you.
Get your copy of SEO in 2023, the book, over at SEOin2023.com.